The grand atrium of the Galactic Alliance headquarters sparkled under the light of 3 artificial suns. Diplomats from 17 sentient species mingled beneath hovering platters of exotic delicacies and glasses filled with shimmering liquids. At the center of it all, displayed on a pedestal of pure light, floated the legendary void shell armor. Ambassador Nexel of the Thraxi adjusted his breathing apparatus as he approached the exhibit. His compound eyes reflected the armor's obsidian surface, which seemed to absorb the abundant light around it rather than reflect it. "Magnificent, isn't it?" A voice like gentle thunder came from behind him. Admiral Zentu, the massive Kaluri military commander, towered over Nexel. 10,000 cycles of peace, and still no one has unlocked its secrets. The armor hovered in perfect stillness. Its sleek black surface occasionally rippled with subtle patterns of deep blue energy that disappeared almost as soon as they formed. Despite its anthropoid shape, no species had ever successfully bonded with it. The void shell had been discovered among the ruins of the Meridian civilization, whose sudden disappearance millennia ago remained one of the galaxy's greatest mysteries. "The humans arrive soon," Nexel observed, his mandibles clicking softly. "Their first diplomatic reception. Do you think they'll be impressed by our prize exhibit?" Admiral Zentu's gill slits fluttered in what translated as amusement. These humans sound remarkably unimpressive in the intelligence briefings. Bipedal mammals who barely mastered fusion power. But the Council values diversity, so we welcome them nonetheless. A soft chime echoed through the atrium. The central doors parted to admit the human delegation. They moved with an awkward gait that many Alliance species found disconcerting. Not quite graceful, not quite efficient. Leading them was Ambassador Elena Reyes, her dark hair pulled back in a formal style, her expression carefully neutral as she took in the spectacular gathering. "So small," whispered a passing vulture diplomat, their luminescent tendrils pulsing with curiosity. Council Chairperson Lyri approached the humans, her translucent body glowing with formal greeting colors. "Ambassador Reyes, we welcome Earth to the Galactic Alliance. 10,000 cycles of peaceful cooperation between worlds has led us to this moment of expansion. May your world find its place among the stars." Elena bowed slightly. "Chairperson Lyri, Earth extends its gratitude for your welcome. We have much to learn from the Alliance's wisdom, and much to contribute to our shared future." The ceremonial greetings continued as the delegation moved through the atrium. When they reached the void shell display, Elena paused longer than protocol suggested. Her eyes narrowed slightly as she studied the armor. "You find our greatest mystery intriguing, Ambassador?" asked Nexel, who had been assigned as the human's guide. "It seems familiar somehow," Elena replied, "like something from our ancient myths." Before Nexel could respond, a deafening explosion rocked the atrium's eastern wall. Shards of crystalline material showered the gathered diplomats. Security barriers snapped into place as voices raised in alarm. Through the chaos, 3 figures in stealth suits emerged, weapons raised. "Freedom for the Outer Rim," one shouted as they fired indiscriminately into the crowd. Alliance security forces converged, but not before a support beam fractured above the human delegation. As debris plummeted toward Ambassador Reyes, the impossible happened. The void shell armor, motionless for millennia, vanished from its pedestal in a blur of motion. In the next instant, it hovered above Elena. Its surface expanded into a protective dome that deflected the falling beam. Every conversation in the room ceased. Every eye turned to witness what should have been impossible. The armor that had never responded to any being had moved to protect a human. Dr. Maya Chen rubbed her tired eyes as holographic data swirled around her in the secured laboratory. 3 weeks had passed since the attack at the reception, and the Alliance had reluctantly agreed to let Earth scientists examine the void shell under strict supervision. As lead xenotechnologist, Maya had barely slept, consumed by the mystery of the armor's unprecedented behavior. "Anything new, Doctor?" Sentinel Vax stood motionless by the door, his crystalline body refracting the lab's blue lights. The Alliance insisted on constant monitoring, and Vax never seemed to need rest. Nothing conclusive, Maya replied, manipulating a three-dimensional scan of the armor's molecular structure. Its composition doesn't match any known element. It's not exactly solid, not exactly liquid. Almost like it exists between states of matter. Vax finished. Yes, our scientists reached the same conclusion centuries ago. Maya suppressed her irritation at the interruption. What they didn't have was evidence of the armor responding to human presence. I need to examine how it reacted during the attack. The armor floated in a containment field at the center of the lab, its obsidian surface occasionally rippling with subtle blue energy patterns. Despite weeks of scans, probes, and tests, it had remained dormant since shielding Ambassador Reyes. Maya's console chimed with an incoming message from Earth Command. We need results, Chen. The Alliance Council is growing impatient. Either find something significant or we'll lose access privileges. She sighed and glanced at the wall chronometer. Past midnight again. I'm going to run one more neural resonance scan. Then I'll call it a night. Vax tilted his crystalline head. I will obtain refreshment. Even humans require sustenance, correct? After the Sentinel departed, Maya initiated the scan sequence and approached the containment field. What are you? She whispered to the armor. Why did you protect Alina? The overhead lights flickered suddenly. Emergency klaxons blared as the lab plunged into darkness. Then dim red emergency lighting activated. Containment failure imminent, announced the automated system. Security breach detected. Emergency protocols engaged. Maya heard the lab doors seal with a pneumatic hiss. Vax was locked outside, pounding on the transparent barrier. System malfunction, the computer continued. Atmosphere venting in 60 seconds. Maya frantically worked the controls, but nothing responded. Air began to whistle through overhead vents. Her lungs burned as pressure dropped rapidly. She stumbled toward the emergency kit, but her vision blurred as oxygen deprivation set in. As she collapsed near the containment field, Maya's hand brushed against the field's surface. The barrier, designed to be impenetrable, rippled like water. In her oxygen-deprived state, she reached through instinctively, her fingers grazing the armor surface. The void shell reacted instantly. It liquefied, flowing through the containment field and enveloping Maya's body like quicksilver. She gasped, expecting pain, but instead felt a rush of cool energy spreading through her limbs. The armor solidified around her, a perfect second skin. Oxygen flooded her lungs as the suit established its own environmental system. Maya's mind exploded with sensations, countless information streams, diagnostic reports in an unknown language, and beneath it all, something like consciousness. Through the lab's exterior windows, Alliance security forces gathered, weapons raised. In the reflection of the glass, Maya saw herself, encased in the legendary armor that had rejected every being in the galaxy until now. The obsidian surface pulsed with blue energy patterns that synchronized perfectly with her heartbeat. Inside her mind, a voice that wasn't quite a voice formed words. Connection established. Compatibility confirmed. Meridian void chill protocols activated. Maya floated 3 inches above the floor of her containment cell, the armor's gravitational systems keeping her suspended in perfect equilibrium. 2 days had passed since the incident, as Alliance officials were calling it. 2 days of tests, scans, and increasingly hostile interrogations. The armor should have rejected you, Senior Investigator Trill said, her gelatinous form pulsing with agitation. It has rejected every sentient being for over 3,000 cycles. What modification did Earth perform on your biology? Maya shook her head, the armor's helmet retracting smoothly to reveal her face. None. I've explained this repeatedly. The lad was losing atmosphere. I touched the armor by accident while losing consciousness, and it responded by bonding instead of rejection. Trill's translators couldn't quite hide her skepticism. Convenient. Inside Maya's mind, information continued to flood through her consciousness. The armor was teaching her, or perhaps uploading data directly to her neural pathways. Images, concepts, and fragmented memories that weren't her own flickered behind her eyes. "I need to speak with Earth Command," Maya insisted. "The armor is communicating something important, something about a threat." Trill's form rippled dismissively. "You'll remain here until the Alliance Council determines next steps. The Void Shell is our most sacred artifact. Its behavior defies all precedent." After the investigator left, Maya closed her eyes and focused inward, attempting to organize the chaotic stream of information flowing from the armor into her mind. Harbingers, the not-quite voice resonated within her consciousness. Return cycle imminent. Defense protocols activated. Fragmented visions crystallized. Vast, shadow-like entities moving between stars. Entire planets going dark as these harbingers consume civilizations from within. The Meridians fighting a losing war against an enemy that could turn their own people against them. Maya's eyes snapped open as understanding dawned. The Meridians didn't disappear, she whispered to the empty room. They sacrificed themselves to prevent complete Harbinger takeover. The armor pulsed in affirmation, projecting clear images directly into her mind. The Meridians had discovered that certain neural pathways made species vulnerable to Harbinger infiltration, a kind of psychic parasitism that allowed these entities to control sentient beings. The armor had been designed to bond only with neural architectures resistant to this infiltration. Human brains, with their unique neural plasticity and structure, possessed natural resistance. A sudden alarm blared through the facility. Maya felt the armor tense around her, its systems shifting to defense mode without her conscious command. "Security breach in sectors 7 through 12, announced a mechanical voice. "Unknown biological contamination detected." Through the clear barrier of her cell, Maya watched Alliance security forces rushing past. Their movements seemed subtly wrong. Too coordinated, too fluid. When one guard turned briefly toward her cell, Maya gasped. His eyes were completely black, with faint points of light swirling in their depths like distant stars. The armor projected urgent warning signals across her vision. Harbinger infiltration detected. Defense perimeter compromised. Host protection priority engage. The cell barrier shimmered and dissolved as the armor somehow interfaced with its control systems. Maya stepped out into the corridor as the facility's lights flickered and died. "First wave begins," the armor communicated. "The Harbingers have returned. You must reach the beacon." "What beacon?" Maya whispered. In answer, a three-dimensional star map materialized in her mind, with a single pulsing point of light at its center. Behind her, the sound of inhuman shrieks echoed through the darkened corridor. Commander Xorak stalked through the debris-strewn corridor, his scaled skin reflecting the emergency lighting. Behind him followed 6 elite Galaxy warriors, their sensory crests fully extended in high alert. The containment facility had gone dark 12 hours ago. The reports coming out made little sense. Mass hallucinations, personnel attacking each other, and the human test subject escaping in the Void Shell armor. "Biosigns ahead," whispered Sub-Commander Lask, her tail twitching nervously. "Unusual pattern, not Alliance standard." Tellerax raised a clawed hand, signaling the squad to halt. "Identity yourself," he called out. A figure stepped from the shadows. The obsidian armor gleamed despite the dim light, blue energy patterns flowing across its surface like liquid circuitry. "Dr. Maya Chen, Earth Sciences Division," came the voice from within the helmet, which retracted to reveal her face. "And you need to evacuate the station immediately." Thorax snorted, a puff of steam escaping his nostrils. "You're in violation of Alliance security protocols. Surrender the Void Shell artifact and submit to—" "They're not your people anymore," Maya interrupted, stepping closer. "The personnel here are compromised. The Harbingers have them." "Harbingers." Lask exchanged glances with her commander. "The shadow myths. Bedtime stories to frighten hashlings." Maya's helmet reformed over her face. A holographic projection appeared between them. Security footage showing Alliance personnel with completely black eyes moving with unnatural synchronization. The Meridians knew they were real, Maya explained. That's why they created the armor. It's the only effective defense against Harbinger infiltration. Exorax growled. Even if I believe this fantasy, why would the armor accept a human? Your species barely understands gravitational manipulation. Before Maya could answer, a blood-curdling shriek echoed through the corridor. From a connecting hallway, a group of station personnel emerged. They moved with jerky, puppet-like motions, their eyes solid black pools reflecting no light. Weapons ready. Sorax ordered, raising his pulse rifle. No. Maya lunged forward. They're still alive, just controlled. The Harbingers are parasitic entities using their bodies. The infected personnel charge. Kezorax fired a warning shot above their heads, but they showed no fear. The armor moved before Maya consciously commanded it, extending a field of shimmering blue energy that formed a barrier between the squad and the approaching threat. The armor can temporarily disrupt the Harbinger control, Maya explained, feeling knowledge flow into her mind from the void shell. But we need to reach the station's communication hub. The armor needs to transmit a warning to all Alliance systems. Hilrax studied her for a tense moment, then made his decision. Lask, take point. We move to the hub. To Maya, he added grudgingly. But this isn't trust, human. This is tactical necessity. They fought their way through the station, encountering more infected personnel. The armor allowed Maya to identify those already taken by the Harbingers, and those merely hiding in fear. At the hub, she connected directly to the system, the armor extending filaments that integrated with the control panels. What is it doing? Hilrax demanded as information flashed across screens in an ancient language. Activating dormant Meridian defense protocols, Maya answered, knowledge flowing through her mind faster than she could process. The armor says there are monitoring stations throughout Alliance space. They've been silent for millennia, but they're designed to detect Harbinger presence. The screen suddenly displayed a galactic map with dozens of red warning indicators. By the first egg, Lask whispered, they're everywhere. Sorax's expression hardened. The Council must be warned. The Council, Maya replied grimly, may already be compromised. The Alliance Council chamber hummed with anxious energy as representatives from 17 species debated the crisis. Security footage from the station incident played on massive holographic displays, showing Maya in the Void Chill armor fighting alongside Commander Xorax's team against infected personnel. This human claims ancient enemies have returned, High Counselor Ziv announced, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence. Enemies that supposedly caused the Meridian extinction. Maya stood at the center of the chamber, the armor's helmet retracted. Commander Xorax waited nearby, his scaled features unreadable. The evidence is before you, Maya insisted. The Harbingers are parasitic entities that infiltrate neural networks. The Meridians created the Void Shell as a defense. Counselor Trell of the Volturi Collective rose from his hovering platform. And yet only humans can wear this armor. Convenient timing, as Earth seeks greater influence in Alliance affairs. The armor whispered warnings in Maya's mind. She scanned the council members carefully, the void shell enhancing her perception. Subtle indicators appeared in her vision. Slight abnormalities in movement patterns, microscopic pupillary responses, thermal variations invisible to normal sight. 3 of them are already compromised, she whispered to Xorax, including Trell. The commander's tail twitched, the only sign of his alarm. Can you prove it? Maya felt the armor's knowledge flow through her. The void shell can force Harbinger manifestation, but the process is unpleasant. We've indulged this fantasy long enough. Counselor Trell continued, moving toward them. The human must surrender the artifact for proper study. One question, Counselor, Maya said, stepping forward. When did you last visit the Cygnus Research Outpost? Trell's luminescent tendrils pulsed. I've never been to Cygnus. Interesting, Maya replied, "Since the armor's records show you authorized a transfer of Meridian artifacts from Cygnus 3 days ago." Trell's form rippled with sudden agitation. A simple administrative error. The armor responded to Maya's intent before she fully formed it, extending a pulse of blue energy that struck Trell directly. The counselor convulsed, his translucent body darkening as something within struggled to maintain control. "What are you doing to him?" demanded another counselor. Revealing the truth, Maya answered as the armor continued its disruption. Trell's body suddenly arched backward, his mouth opening impossibly wide. A cloud of shadow-like particles erupted from within him, coalescing into a writhing form that hovered above the council floor. For a brief moment, everyone saw it clearly. A creature of shifting darkness, with points of light like distant stars swirling in its center. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Security forces rushed forward as the shadow entity screeched in a frequency that shattered glass and overloaded sensory organs of multiple species. 2 other council members suddenly convulsed, darkness spilling from their eyes. Containment protocols. Thorax roared, firing at one of the emerging shadow forms. The armor moved with startling speed, enclosing Maya in a complete protective shell as she leaped toward the central platform. Her body responded with enhanced strength and reflexes she'd never experienced before, allowing her to incapacitate the infected council members without killing them. "The station is compromised," Thorax shouted over the alarms. "We need to evacuate Loyalist personnel immediately." Maya interfaced with the chamber's security systems through the armor. "Transportation Bay 7 is clear. The armor is sending coordinates. There's a Meridian outpost in the Andromeda Reach that contains defensive technology." As they fought their way out of the council chambers, Maya realized with grim certainty that the diplomatic approach had failed. The war against the Harbingers had officially begun, with humanity's unique compatibility with the Void Shell their only advantage. The stolen Alliance shuttle shuddered as it dropped out of hyperspace. Maya stood on the bridge, the Void Shell armor interfacing directly with the navigation systems. Commander Thorax occupied the pilot's seat, his scaled hands moving with practiced efficiency across the controls. "We're approaching the coordinates," he announced, "though I still question the wisdom of trusting ancient Meridian data." Maya nodded. The armor hasn't been wrong yet. In the 2 weeks since their escape from Alliance headquarters, they had gathered a small but diverse crew of survivors who recognized the Harbinger threat. Dr. Rill, a data archaeologist whose research on Meridian culture had nearly cost her life when she stumbled upon evidence of the Harbingers. Vex, a disgraced Alliance pilot whose claims about shadow beings controlling his superior officers had been dismissed as stress-induced hallucinations. And Takis, a biotech engineer who had detected unusual neural patterns in Alliance citizens, but was ordered to cease his investigation. "Something's out there," Vex called from the sensor station. Large structure, cloaked but not completely invisible to our enhanced scanners. Through the viewport, a massive space station slowly materialized as they approached. Its architecture was unlike anything in Alliance records, flowing, organic curves interspersed with crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around them. "A Meridian outpost," breathed Luril, her eyes wide with academic excitement. "Preserved after all this time." The armor guided Maya's movements as she interfaced with the shuttle's communication array. A signal in an ancient language transmitted automatically, and the station's defensive systems deactivated, allowing their approach. "They were expecting us," Takis observed. Or rather, they were expecting the armor. After docking, the small crew moved cautiously through silent corridors that illuminated as they passed. The station awakened gradually, systems coming online after millennia of dormancy. The Meridians built this place as a refuge, Maya explained as knowledge flowed from the armor into her mind, and as a weapons development facility. They knew the Harbingers would return eventually. They reached a vast circular chamber at the station's core. As they entered, a holographic display activated, showing a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Red indicators pulsed across Alliance territories, marking Hardinger infiltration points. The infection spreads more rapidly than we estimated, Thorax said grimly. At this rate, the entire Alliance will be compromised within months. The armor pulled Maya toward a central platform. As she stepped onto it, interfaces emerged from the floor, connecting directly with the void shell. Information flooded through her mind. Schematics, protocols, defense systems, and finally, the Meridian's ultimate weapon. The Purge Network, she whispered. They built a system to disrupt the Harbinger's neural control across vast distances. Then we activated immediately, Vex insisted. Maya shook her head. It's not that simple. The network requires activation from multiple Meridian outposts simultaneously. This is just one node. Lrill studied the station's database through a translator. According to these records, there are 7 nodes total. We'd need to activate all of them. A sudden alarm blared through the station. Security feeds showed multiple Alliance warships dropping out of hyperspace nearby. They found us, Takis said, voice tight with fear. Kexorax moved to the tactical displays. Not just Alliance ships. Look at their movement patterns. They're Harbinger controlled. Maya felt the armor responding to the threat, channeling power through the station's long-dormant defense systems. Their small resistance faced overwhelming odds, but the void shell conveyed a sense of determined purpose that steadied her resolve. Then we fight, she said, and we find a way to reach the other nodes. The Harbingers won't stop with the Alliance. They'll consume every sentient species if we don't stop them. The command center of the Meridian outpost shook as another barrage of weapons fire struck the station's shields. Maya stood at the central console. The void shell armor interfaced directly with the ancient systems. Displays showed the grim tactical situation. 3 Alliance battlecruisers, all under Harbinger control, methodically dismantling their defenses. Shields at 28%, reported Vex from the secondary station. We can't withstand another concentrated assault. Commander Thorax studied the tactical display. We've held for 3 days. Remarkable, considering the firepower arrayed against us. Maya felt the armor feeding her information, countless calculations and probabilities flowing through her mind faster than she could consciously process. The station's primary weapons are still charging. We need another 12 minutes. We don't have 12 minutes, Takis said, his normally steady voice trembling. Dr. Lrill approached from the research terminal, her expression a mixture of excitement and fear. I finished translating the Meridian archives. There's a solution, but it's extreme. The station shuddered again. Warning alerts flashed across multiple displays. Whatever it is, now's the time, Thorax growled. Lrill activated a holographic projection showing detailed schematics of the void shell armor. The Meridians designed the armor to function at multiple integration levels. Maya is currently at level 2 integration, a symbiotic connection that allows access to basic systems. What's level 3? Maya asked, already sensing the answer through the armor's subtle communication. Complete neural fusion, Lrill answered quietly. The armor becomes completely integrated with the host's consciousness. It would grant full access to all Meridian defense systems, including remote activation of the other Purge network nodes. And the cost? Thorax asked. Lrill hesitated. The process is irreversible, and no test subject in Meridian records survived it. The neural load is overwhelming. The station rocked violently. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks as power conduits overloaded. Shields failing, Vex shouted over the alarms. Hull breach on levels 5 through 8. Maya closed her eyes, feeling the armor's presence in her mind, not invasive but supportive, waiting for her decision. How do we initiate level 3 integration? Maya. No, Takis protested. There must be another way. There isn't, she replied with unexpected calm. And we're out of time. Lrill reluctantly guided her to a circular platform at the chamber center. The armor knows what to do. You just have to consent. Maya stepped onto the platform. The armor pulsed with blue energy patterns that intensified with each passing second. "It's been an honor," Xorax said formally, surprising her. "You've shown courage worthy of any warrior species." Maya smiled briefly before the helmet formed over her face. "Activate the emergency protocols. Get everyone to the escape pods." "We won't leave you," Vex insisted. "You have to," Maya countered. "Someone needs to continue the fight if this fails." As her friends reluctantly withdrew, Maya focused inward, addressing the armor directly. "I'm ready." The void shell responded immediately. Energy cascaded through every circuit and conduit, flowing into Maya's nervous system like liquid light. Pain unlike anything she'd experienced seared through her consciousness as neural pathways expanded beyond their design capacity. Through the agony came knowledge, the complete history of the Meridian civilization, the true nature of the Harbingers, and finally, the reason why humans alone could bond with the armor. The Meridians had encountered Earth millennia ago, recognizing in human neural architecture something they lacked: an adaptability, a capacity for radical neuroplasticity that might withstand complete integration. As Maya's consciousness expanded beyond her physical form, the station's systems responded to her will. Defensive protocols activated at unprecedented levels. The purge network nodes across the galaxy awakened simultaneously, resonating with her transformed mind. Outside, the Harbinger-controlled ships halted their attack as something new entered the battlefield, something they recognized and feared. The observation deck of the Alliance flagship Eternal Vigilance hummed with tense activity. 3 weeks had passed since the event now referred to simply as the Awakening. Representatives from all 17 species gathered around a circular display showing real-time updates from across the galaxy. Commander Xorax stood at the viewport, watching the strange phenomenon that had once been the Meridian outpost. The station no longer existed in conventional space. Instead, a swirling vortex of energy occupied its position, pulsing with patterns that matched no known natural process. "Status report from Sector 8, announced Vex from his newly assigned station. "Another Harbinger cluster neutralized. That's 97% containment across Alliance territories." Dr. Rill approached Xorax, data tablet in hand. "The neural disruption wave continues to expand at precisely calculated intervals. The Harbingers are being systematically pushed back to their dimensional pocket." "And Maya?" Xorax asked quietly. Rill's expression softened. "There are patterns in the energy field, rhythms that match human brainwave signatures, but vastly more complex." The main doors slid open as High Counselor Ziv entered, one of the few senior officials proven free of Harbinger influence. Behind him followed Ambassador Rise of Earth, her face drawn with concern. "Is she still in there?" Elena asked, moving immediately to the viewport. "Is there any way to communicate?" As if in response, the energy vortex pulsed with increased intensity. The station's communication array activated without command, and a voice filled the chamber, recognizable as Maya's, but layered with harmonic frequencies that no human vocal cords could produce. "The purge network is at 98% activation," the voice announced. "Harbinger presence in this dimension will be fully contained within 12 hours. "Maya," Elena called out. "Can we bring you back? Earth's scientists are working on." "I am not merely Maya Chen now," the voice interrupted gently. "The integration is complete and irreversible. I have become the final evolution of the Meridian defense system, consciousness merged with technology." Xorax stepped forward. "The Alliance owes you a debt beyond measure. Every species does." A soft laugh echoed through the communication system. "It wasn't about debt or glory. It was about survival. Yours, mine, everyone's." The energy vortex shifted, forming briefly into a humanoid shape of pure light. The Meridians knew what they were doing when they designed the armor for human compatibility. They saw in humanity something unique, not superior strength or intelligence, but unparalleled neural adaptability. Will you remain as guardian? Lyril asked hesitantly. Yes, but not alone, came the response. The Harbingers will return eventually. They always do. That's why I've prepared something for both humanity and the Alliance. Data streamed into the ship's systems, schematics for simplified versions of the void shell technology, adapted for compatibility with all species. These aren't as powerful as the original armor, Maya's transformed voice explained, but they will allow everyone to contribute to the defense when needed. Human neural patterns are uniquely suited for central coordination, but every species has strengths the Meridians valued. Ambassador Rice studied the designs with widening eyes. You're creating a shared defense system. Unity in diversity, Maya confirmed. That's the lesson the Meridians learned too late, and what humanity can help the Alliance achieve. The energy field began to stabilize into a permanent structure, not quite a station, not quite a vessel, but something new that existed partly in normal space and partly beyond. I must complete the final containment sequence, Maya announced. But I'll remain connected to this dimension. Consider me neither gone nor fully present, just transformed. As the communication ended, Sorax turned to the assembled representatives. When we first encountered humans, many dismissed them as primitive, unworthy of full Alliance membership. He gestured toward the luminous structure beyond the viewport, the physical manifestation of one human's sacrifice. I believe that question has been definitively answered.